After nearly 2 years and 3 full Let's Plays, we here at Would You Kindly have finally completed our original goal and finished BioShock Infinite. And now that we're done, we have definitely noticed one thing. These games are fucked up.
Seriously, there's enough nightmare fuel in this game to make Lovecraft shit himself.
Literally. So, in the spirit of YouTube, we managed to narrow down the what the fuckness of these games to our top 10 favorite moments of just... God, why?
Warning, this video contains spoilers. But, if you didn't want to hear spoilers, why are you on YouTube in the first place? But, I digress. Number 10.
In every BioShock game, you as the player are given access to various powers which just allow you to wreck your enemies. In BioShock Infinite, those powers are called Vigors, and they are very similar to the plasmids of BioShock, but with a few differences. When using a specific Vigor, the hand which uses them usually looks normal, but it periodically shifts to show what the equipped power is, which in and of itself is kind of fucked up. It can be anything from growing talon-like fingers to having the flesh melt off of your hand, so it is usually a bit disconcerting, especially when the hand shifts back so you don't know whether that actually happened or if you were just hallucinating. However, the reason that the Vigors take the number 10 spot on this list is because of the ways that they can be combined with each other. The game is set up so that if you use two specific Vigors together, their effects can combine into just messed up stuff. One can't help but wonder how the hell somebody came up with them. Just the terror of using a tentacle of water to grab enemies which are then turned into fine powder via electricity. Or of attacking groups of enemies using a flaming murder of crows is really just kind of screwed up. It is so broken, but really awesomely terrifying, we just can't help but say, what the fuck?
Number 9. One of the major game components of BioShock Infinite is the use of tears. Weak spots in the fabric of reality which can be opened to bring useful items into our dimension. Usually, the kinds of things brought through tears are guns, turrets, things like that. But there's one thing that can be brought through which is existentially terrifying. Yourself. What does that mean, you might ask? Well, the answer is why this takes a number 9 spot on our list. When bringing an item through a tear, you are really just ripping something from another dimension and putting it in the one that you play the game in. As such, there are instances where an alternate version of your character, Booker DeWitt, can also be brought through. This tear, called a decoy, doesn't do anything other than stand where he was brought through, but he is most certainly another Booker DeWitt. The only purpose of this tear is to use this other DeWitt to act as a bullet sponge, which is really messed up because you were pretty much attempting to kill yourself.
Wait, isn't that suicide?
I think in this case it would be self-homicide. So honestly, you are effectively throwing an alternate version of yourself into a meat grinder just so that you could live a bit longer. Number 8. As we mentioned in number 10, the world of BioShock Infinite introduces us to Vigors, powers which could be used to provide support in combat. Although we have already covered Vigors as a whole on the list, we felt that one Vigor in particular was fucked up enough to warrant its own spot on the list. Taking the number 8 spot is the Vigor Possession. What Possession allows the player to do is to release a green ghost at enemies, and the enemy which is hit by the ghost temporarily becomes your ally and tries to kill anyone who attacks you. I say temporary because one of the aspects of the power is that it also kills the possessed victim. How does it cause them to die? The possession vigor forces its victims to kill themselves when the vigor wears off. You heard that right. Possession forces the victim to kill themselves, and usually in some pretty spectacular ways. Enemies with machine guns shoot themselves repeatedly in the chest. Those with shotguns blow their brains out. The ones with RPGs just shoot the ground in front of them, which is pretty awesome to watch. The most fucked up way that enemies kill themselves only happens if they have a melee weapon or a gun they cannot aim at themselves. What they do is beat themselves to death. Just how? How the fuck does that happen? And it gets even more fucked up than that. First, the vigor only works on one person at a time. So if you try to possess a new target, the old one instantly kills themselves. 2. When under the effects of possession, the green ghost whispers quotes from Romeo and Juliet. Backwards. And 3, and I find it the worst, the vigor is the first one you get in the game. As a free sample! A power that allows you to make your enemies, maybe even your friends, do your bidding, then forces them to die, was just given to you. Just what the Number 7.
In BioShock, we as the player spend most of the game going after Andrew Ryan, the man who not only runs the underwater city of Rapture, but has also been the main antagonist of the entire game. He sends wave after wave of splicers to try and kill you, and he nearly succeeds multiple times. So, when you finally reach him, you expect for there to be some epic confrontation. But what you get instead is the number 7 spot on our list. When you finally do reach Ryan, the game becomes incredibly cinematic, as we are forced to hear him monologue behind a pane of bulletproof glass about what the difference is between a man and a slave. He begins to talk about Jack, the character, his past, and it is accompanied by a series of flashbacks which begin to make you not quite sure if what you know about the game is true. He then asks if a man was sent to kill him or a slave. He then opens the door to let you finish the job, but not before giving you the mindfuck to end all mindfucks. As you charge at Ryan, control is suddenly taken away from the player as Ryan begins to control your actions himself. With a single phrase. A familiar phrase? Would you kindly?
Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Everything that you know about the game is suddenly turned upside down as you are shown that your every action was secretly controlled by Atlas, the polite Irishman who has guided you through Rapture, by him using the phrase, "Would you kindly?" Your head is already spinning by this point, and Ryan keeps using the phrase to make you perform tricks like a trained dog. Then, just when you think he is about to finish you off, he does something unexpected. He hands you a golf club, and then this happens.
Kill! Juices! Oh, smell! Oh, face! Obey!
Yeah. That's just... wow. The worst part is, after you do that to Ryan, Atlas comes back on the radio and uses the "Would you kindly" trigger to force you to give control of the city to him, who was actually secretly a man named Frank Fontaine, a rival of Ryan and the new main antagonist. I think I need to lie down for a bit.
Number 6. In BioShock 2, one of the game's main characters is Gilbert Alexander. He was the man responsible for the development of the iconic Big Daddies, as well as for the bonding them to Little Sisters. Upon entering Fontaine Futuristics, Alexander speaks to you via pre-recorded audio messages, which explain that he needs you, as Subject Delta, to find his current self and kill him. But he makes it seem that he is not asking you to kill him, but that you are to kill a third person. Well, it's kind of because you are. Through various audio diaries and running into his current self, you find out that in an attempt to become the most perfect person that could ever be, he willingly exposed himself to massive amounts of Adam. Like, all of it. This Adam exposure somehow changes him and turns him into the level's main antagonist, Alex the Great, a sociopath and has a penchant for firing his employees with actual fire. Halfway through the level, you eventually come across Alex, and he has changed a lot. He doesn't even look human anymore, because he isn't human anymore. He has become, well, just look at that thing. This walking, floating abomination is a result of being exposed to all of the Adam. And this is the reason why Alexander takes the number 6 spot on your list. Need we say more? Number 5?
Say goodbye to those two blowhards, and hello to an evening with Sander Cohen.
Oh, Sander Cohen. We couldn't have a list of fucked up in BioShock without you. Seriously, I think it would be against some kind of law that he probably made. Anyway, Sander Cohen appears in the first BioShock as the undisputed ruler over the level Fort Frolic. That, in and of itself, is kind of fucked up. He turned himself into a third faction in a two-faction civil war, completely silencing both Ryan and Atlas over the radio and forcing you into playing his game. He is, or at least calls himself, an artist of music, painting, sculpting, theater, and pretty much every form of artistic expression. While in Fort Frolic, he forces you to help him create his masterpiece of artistic expression by killing and photographing 4 of his former art disciples / gay lovers and placing them in a sculpture made of corpses dressed as bunnies and coated in plaster. And no, I did not stutter when I said that. He has you kill and photograph these people, and he calls it art. And that isn't even the most fucked up thing about him. He has multiple statues around Fort Frolic, which are actually posed splicers coated in plaster, some of which are still alive and can attack the player. He constantly complains about the doubters who criticize his art, and, at one point, when he accuses the player of being a doubter, he sends splicers to kill you. The lights dim, a spotlight shines on you, and Tchaikovsky's Waltz of the Flowers starts playing. Just, that is artistic in the most messed up of ways. And it's for doing stuff like that that we place Sander fucking Cohen at the number 5 spot on our list.
Number 4. Now, it might seem like cheating to be putting 2 different enemies in the number 4 spot, but hear us out. They are similar enough so that they are fucked up for almost the same reason, and they are the iconic enemies of their respective games. The Big Daddies are the lumbering guardians of the Little Sisters, and universally feared throughout the city of Rapture. The Handymen are the fear engines of Columbia, being walking behemoths that cause random bouts of terror throughout both the Founders and the Vox Populi. Both enemies were once normal men, until the cities that they live in forced them into the walking nightmares that they are. The Big Daddies were once the criminals and political dissidents of Rapture, until they were forced into the Big Daddy program and ripped of their humanity. They were doused in pheromones in order to attract Little Sisters, and their voice boxes are altered so that the only sounds they could make are the archaic whale noises. After that, their skin and organs are grafted into a diving suit. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, they have the diving suit literally turned into their new skin, which is fitted with a life support system to keep them alive. Finally, their suits are filled with a chemical compound that controls their minds, stripping away their free will and turning them into the lumbering protectors that we know and love. While that process is terrifying in its own right, the Handymen are arguably worse. Like the Big Daddies, the Handyman is a human artificially bonded to a mechanical suit in order for those who have been injured or disabled to live a normal life. However, instead of being bounded to an exoskeleton, they appear to have their heads grafted onto a mechanical body, with their hearts replaced into a chemical-filled vat in the chest in order to keep the head alive. Also, if their shouts of blood-curdling fear are anything to go by, this bonding causes the participant to live in what has to be constant, never-ending pain. This is just nightmare fuel, because each handyman, instead of being a mindless slave, is a conscious person, being forced to live as a handyman, or as a Big Daddy, is the hell of likes of which I can hardly think of, and that is why they take the number 4 spot on our list. Number 3.
Oh, God. So we made it to the top 3 most fucked up things about the BioShock series, and number 3 is a doozy. Rapture was a city plagued by a drug-like addiction to a substance called Adam, unstable stem cells which were utilized to create plasmids and gene tonics used in BioShock. Adam was used to create what was called a benign cancer, as it killed the cells of the user's body and replaced them with the unstable stem versions. This cancer was the cause of all of the fantastic abilities found in Rapture, but there was a problem. These cells, because they were unstable, also caused the hideous deformities and batshit craziness found in the splicers. In order to counteract these effects, Adam users had to keep using more and more to keep themselves sane, and there lies the problem. The source of Adam was not enough. Adam was discovered in a specific sea slug, but there was nowhere near enough slugs to produce the Adam that Rapture required. So Bridget Tannenbaum, the discoverer of Adam, came up with an unsettling solution. By implanting the slug into the lining of a human stomach, around 30 times more Adam could be produced. However, this only worked by using the stomach of a little girl. Here introduces the Little Sisters, the source of all Adam. These girls were either abandoned orphans, children sold by their parents or somebody else, or even just randomly kidnapped children. They were then subjected to the Little Sister program, surgically implanted with a slug and brainwashed into seeing the world as an idealized version of itself. And that isn't even the worst part. After the Adam was produced, it was found that it could be recycled by harvesting its remnants from the blood of splicers. How do they harvest it? By sending the brainwashed Little Sisters into the streets of Rapture with syringes to drink the blood of splicers to make more Adam. And of course, this leads to the development of their watchful protectors, the Big Daddies. This whole process is just messed up. Seriously! There are not enough words to describe the depraved thoughts that had to have been brought into existence to come up with a series of solutions more fucked up than this.
Number 2.
Before we move on to number 2, first I feel like we need to put another spoiler warning. We will be spoiling the entirety of the ending of BioShock Infinite. So if you don't want to hear it, well, I don't think we need to tell you what to do about it. During the end game of Infinite, we are shown that Elizabeth was not actually the daughter of Comstock, but was instead kidnapped by him to be his heir. During the inevitable confrontation with Comstock, we have a great moment of catharsis while beating the ever-loving crap out of him, then drowning the bastard. It is then revealed that Booker might somehow know what happened to Elizabeth's missing finger, something which was barely mentioned throughout the game. Booker, in an attempt to prove that he doesn't know what happened, suggested that they destroy the device, which has been restricting Elizabeth's powers hidden in her tower prison, so they can find out what happened for themselves. After a spectacular battle against the Vox Populi, While using the Songbird as an ally, they destroy the machine, and Elizabeth gains full control of her abilities. Unfortunately, the Songbird begins to attack Booker and Elizabeth. But she does the most unexpected thing ever. She uses her powers to kill the Songbird by bringing all of them to Rapture. Yes, that Rapture. The one from the previous games. The water pressure crushes the Songbird to death, and while you are in awe from the fact that, holy shit, we are in Rapture, Elizabeth takes things up a notch. She takes you on a ride in a bathysphere to the surface, and you go to the lighthouse where Jack first entered the city. And when you enter the lighthouse, you find yourself staring at another ocean, filled with an infinite number of identical lighthouses. You come face to face with the multiverse. And that isn't even the trippiest thing about what happens. While Elizabeth gives us a crash course in quantum mechanics, we find out that Anna, the woman that Booker kept saying the name of throughout the game, was in fact his infant daughter, that he sold to Comstock of all people in order to wipe away his debt. He sold his daughter, but he suddenly had a bout of morality and then tried to take her back. But in the process, Anna is taken through a tear device, and it is then closed on her pinky finger, cutting it off. That's right, ladies and gents. Anna was the infant Elizabeth, meaning that Booker is her father. Is your head spinning yet? Well, it gets even more fucked up than this. She explains that because Comstock took Elizabeth through an interdimensional tear, he would still be alive in an infinite number of alternate worlds. And the only way to actually stop him was to travel back to the time he was born and kill him. Strangling him in his crib, as Booker so eloquently put it. Oh, and it gets even worse than this! Elizabeth takes Booker to the time and place where he tried to get baptized in order to wipe away his sins from the events of the Battle of Wounded Knee, a dark time in Booker's past. While Booker is arguably confused as to why they are there, multiple alternate versions of Elizabeth show up and explain that, while Booker never did accept his baptism, alternate versions of him did. And one of those versions changed his name to Zachary Hale Comstock. Yes, that's right. The entire game has an alternate version of you as the villain. Oh, and in order to kill him, you have to die! So, to rectify the situation, Booker was then drowned by the gang of Elizabeths, erasing Comstock from existence and making the entire game not happen. Just how? How in the name of Gandhi's tits did they come up with this as the plot to a video game? This is the kind of physics that would make Neil deGrasse Tyson die of a seizure, and I need to lie down.
Oh, and there is a clip at the end of the credits that shows the entire game could have been a drunken fever dream of DeWitt's. Have fun. And now, the number one most thing about BioShock.
Well, we are finally here. The number one spot on Would You Kindly Productions' first top 10 list of the most fucked up stuff in the BioShock series. And Jesus, this one is bad.
We have spoken at length about the absolute clusterfuck of quantum bullshit that is BioShock Infinite. So, of course, we would have to include the most screwed up enemy from that game. Taking the number one spot on our list is the walking, floating, Schrodinger abomination itself, the Siren.
Oh God! Near the end of Infinite, Booker and Elizabeth need to get to Father Comstock's house, which is locked by a computer door lock. It confuses Elizabeth for her mother, the late Lady Comstock, so in order to progress, they need to acquire the Lady Comstock's fingerprints. How do they decide to go about doing that? They go grave robbing. Sounds simple. Go to tomb, get fingerprints by chopping off deceased hand, open door. But true to the game, even that couldn't be simple, as Comstock finds out about their plan and does... The best way I could describe it is legitimate witchcraft. He uses miniature siphons, the machines which drain Elizabeth of her powers, to steal her power and force it into the corpse of Lady Comstock. And thus, the siren was born.
So corpse plus quantum physics equals ghost?
In this game, yes. Yes, it does.
The siren is hatred incarnate, being the combination of multiple alternate versions of Lady Comstock, some being dead, others being alive, and some of which may or may not be from worlds created out of Elizabeth's resentment of her. Meaning the siren is simultaneously living, dead, and possibly non-existent or fictional. What?
Time and space both weep at the presence of this shrouded enemy. And when she first rises, she is pissed. Apparently, being dead and alive is a bit of an existential crisis. She begins to take out this post-mortem rage on Booker, who poses what has to be the best question ever spoken in the game.
Elizabeth, why is your mother a ghost?
In battle, she can resurrect enemies by opening tears on their dead bodies, which brings alternate zombie versions of them to the battle, intentionally doing what Elizabeth accidentally did to the enemies Booker killed whenever they universe hopped. Hell, even the sound she makes when she raises the dead is just... After her defeat, she flies away, leaving ghostly footsteps which lead Booker and Elizabeth through the streets of Emporia to their future confrontations. That's right, we have to fight the bitch not once, not twice, but 3 fucking times.
In addition to being made of PMS and nightmares, she is especially fucked up because we never actually find out what happens to her. After the third and final battle with her, the siren essentially calms down enough to realize that she should not be fighting Booker and Elizabeth, but Comstock instead. After that realization, she wrecks the front gate of Comstock House and disappears, never to be seen again.
Wait. So the immortal she-witch that exists across time and space just left. Never to be seen again? Just poof and gone? So, theoretically, after the timey-wimey temporal bullshit from the end of the game, since she was not fully dead, alive, or even real, she may still exist after the universe reset. Well then...
Nope. That's it. I'm out. I am done. Done. We are done. I can stand slug people, electrical incinerations, even hitting the universe's reset button, but there is no way in hell that this is a thing. The siren, fuck her, and fuck the dead and alive Schrodinger's bullshit that she is made of.
All right then.